Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel, and this is your tip of the week. I often get asked a lot of questions about how to finish a quilt off. Every day practically there's a question about it. How do I calculate my fabric? If you're interested in that, that was in the previous tip of the week and that link will be listed below. But once you get that figured out, then what do? You need to get your cotton batting, you need to get everything ready to go so you can finish it off. I'm going to show you 3 different methods. One really basic and then the other 2 just a little bit more complicated. So let's look at option number 1. These methods that I'm going to show you can apply to pot holders, placemats, table runners, and quilts, and probably many other things. So the first one is you take your cotton batting, you place it down first. You take your quilt top, now I'm working in miniature version. You take your quilt top, it's pretty side up, looking up at you. Then you take your fabric that's going to be on the back and you take pretty side down. Now all of your pieces are cut exactly the same size. Then you place pins all around the edges. On one edge you need to indicate an opening where you're not going to stitch over that so that you can turn it front side out. So here's my opening. This is where I'm going to start stitching. And over here is where I want to end. I always put 2 pins so I won't forget and wind up stitching it closed. So start over here and back stitch. Then go down to your corner, stop 1/4 inch away, leave your needle down through the fabric, turn your fabric, and continue stitching down. You would do that at all your corners. Go all the way around. When you get here, back stitch. At all 4 corners, you need to trim some of the fabric off so that when you turn it front side out, the corners will lay a little flatter. They're always going to be a little bulky when you have so many thicknesses of fabric. So I'm going to trim it down to about 1/8 of an inch wide, and I also like to take a little bit off on each side of it. So again, do it on all 4 corners. Once it's turned front side out, then you want to reach inside and poke all 4 corners out. Remember, they're not going to be perfectly squared, but you want them to look as flat as possible. I would give this a really good pressing, and while you're pressing, fold your edges in at the opening 1/4 of an inch and press that flat. Place pins there and then stitch across. To do your quilting stitches, place a few pins around to hold all of the fabric layers together, and then do whatever quilting stitch pattern you would like to do. If you do not know how to do quilting stitches, I have a separate tutorial listed below in the description section. Now this is the second option. This one's pretty easy also. It has just a few more steps. So you want to cut your cotton batting, I've already got it down, and your quilt top the same size. Then your fabric for the back is cut out about 1 inch to 1¼ inches out beyond the edges, like you see here. So I've got all of this, and this is the back. Then you're going to pin everything together and do your quilting stitch pattern. And you want to start your quilting stitches from the edge way out here and go all the way across to the other edge. Once you've done that, then I would go around and check to make sure your edges are all still the same. Because when you do quilting stitches, the fabric has a tendency to shift a little bit. Then you're going to go to one edge and fold it over right towards the edge of your quilt top and press it. Then fold it over the top of your quilt top and press again. And you're going to do that on 2 opposite sides. So this is folded over also. Then stitch real close to the edge starting way out here and going all the way to the other end. And you do that on opposite sides. Then you go to your other two remaining edges, press it towards the edge of the quilt top, and press again. And you do that again on two opposite sides, and then stitch it down close to the edge. So when you're done, this is what it looks like on the front, and then this is what it looks like on the back. This is the third method of finishing off the edges of your quilt. So you want to cut the fabric for the back and your cotton batting larger than your quilt top, and it all depends on what you're making. If you're making just a small little pot holder or a placemat, you probably only need to cut it maybe a ½ inch, no more than an inch, larger than the very top piece. If you're doing a large quilt, it could be up to 3 to 4 inches that you need to cut larger. So you place your fabric for the back with the pretty side down, and then you lay your cotton batting on top. Make sure all your layers are smooth. Then take your quilt top and place it in the very center and smooth it all out. Then you would place pins all over your quilt to hold the layers together. This is real important because fabric can shift while you're doing it. Then do whatever quilt stitch pattern you want. And all you need to do is just start right at the edge of your quilt top. Now you want to trim all your edges straight, and they might get a little jagged during the process of doing quilting stitches. So place a ruler on there. Using a rotary cutter, I'm just going to cut it off. So you're going to go around to all 4 edges and trim it off. After trimming, this is what it should look like. The number of binding strips you will need will really depend on the size of the quilt. So measure all of your edges, and that's how many, and add them together, and that's how many inches of your binding strip you will need. To cut binding strips, you need to fold your fabric with the selvage edges together. And most strips, when folded like this, are 42 inches. Straighten out your first edge using a ruler, and then move over 2½ inches and cut. And then you'd keep moving it over for the number of strips that you need. If you have multiple strips, then you want to stitch those ends of the strips together so that you have one long string of binding. So just bring the front sides together and stitch a 1/4 inch seam. There is another method for attaching your ends together. It's cutting them at a 45-degree angle. I'm not going to discuss that method in this demonstration. Fold your binding strip together like this all the way down and press it with your iron. You can start placing your binding strip on any edge. Just pick an edge and place it along the side there. And then you want to pin it down if you need to. Some of you might find it real easy just to hold the strip there, but I like to pin mine because I'm afraid I will get it all wobbly. You're not going to start stitching right at the edge here. You're going to go down 3 or 4 inches and begin stitching. I'm going to use a 1/4 inch wide seam. So you're going to begin stitching down towards the corner. You're going to stop stitching a 1/4 inch away from this edge and do a couple of little back stitches. Now you're going to take your strip, and this is where a lot of people get confused. Fold the strip out this way to where this edge is even with this edge here. Then place your finger there or your thumb, fold it over, and the folded edge is even with this, and line it up along the edge, and then of course you can pin it. Once you've got it all pinned, then you would again do a 1/4 inch seam all the way down to the next corner, and you would do all of your corners like this. So then stitch it all the way around, and then when you come out to this edge, stop. So now you want to stitch the two ends together. So I'm going to line up this one here and overlap the one that I need to trim off. And so I'm going to overlap about 1/4 of an inch, maybe just a tiny bit more. And then I'm going to trim the excess off. Now if you need to measure it with a ruler, go right ahead. And so I'm just trimming this off. Unfold both ends and then bring one end on top of the other. Then I would place some pins to hold these and then stitch 1/4 of an inch seam along there. Then press that seam open. After stitching the ends together, fold your binding in half again and finish stitching it down. Then lift the binding up and then press on these seams because it's going to be easier to fold it over the edges to the front. Then turn it over and pull up on the corners to get them to come up. Now fold your edges over to the front and pin them down. At the corners you'll have this little bump, so I'm going to show you how to fold this. It's really easy. Make sure there's a pin on each side first. Then take a straight pin, press down, let me turn this a little more, press down and in, fold it over, and pin. And that's how you do a mitered corner. After pinning, stitch close to this edge along here on all 4 sides. And when done, this is what it looks like on the front, and then this is what it looks like on the back. So let's take a look at all 3 methods real quick. So this one here has no binding at all. All it is stitched together on the edges, turn front side out, and this is what it looks like. This is another one. It's got binding on the edges, but done in a different method. The corners don't look quite the same as the last method. And here's the third one. This one has the mitered corners. So that's the difference between method 2 and 3. You're probably thinking, well, what method do I use? I use all 3. It all depends on what I'm making and how much time I have so that I can select a method that is the best for that situation and project. I hope this tip of the week was helpful to you and that I've answered some of the questions you have about finishing off a quilt. Now, all of the links I discussed and some beginner sewing project links will be listed below your YouTube screen in the description section. And I also have lots of tips of the week, so I will have that link down there too. Now don't forget to follow me on Instagram and check out my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and happy sewing. If you like the Sewing Room channel, one of the best ways to show your support is to subscribe by clicking on that red subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. And make sure you click on the bell so you receive notifications for all my new videos. I'm Cheryl, this is Manny, and this is Scotty. See you next time.